Hello, hello. Hey, friends. I think I've worn the same shirt for the last 3 weeks, but it's so hot out. And this is the only tank top that's already covered in paint that I have. So it's fine. It's fine. Just, ignore that. If anybody is curious about it, it was from, what was it from? It's part of a line of clothing that Valentine from Dancing with the Stars, I think I went to go see a live show. Anyway, that's what this is from, and it's covered in paint. So, all right, let's get started. Now, we're doing something I think this is kind of different from what we've usually done. We're doing hot air balloon, and I decided it was going to be weird and mystical and whimsical and interesting. So that's what we're doing. It is going to start with a solid background color. So like I say all the time, this is up to you. If you don't like this color combination and you want to do another one, go for it. It doesn't necessarily have to be teal. But I'm going to stick with that color because I really enjoy those colors. And it's weird because I don't like orange, but it's more of like a salmon-y color. I don't know. I really like it. So remember I said I didn't have paint last week? I forgot I had these, but I'm still also almost out of these. So there's that. But yes, that was, somebody else asked me what kind of paint I like. And actually, this is the answer. If you're going for economy, like I said, I'm sure there's better paints out there, better quality. But for middle of the road, inexpensive kind of paints, I like Blick brand. I think you can get them online. Not a lot of places have a Dick Blick store anymore, and I think they might have been bought by someone. I don't actually know. But anyway, if you could find Blick brand, that's the kind I like. Okay, so we're gonna paint. So we're gonna get a plain background going first. If you are sticking with this color scheme that I'm stuck with, we're gonna go for like a turquoisey teal. So that could mean a lot of different shades for a lot of different people. I'm gonna do blue, and I'm gonna do some yellow paint to make that kind of green, but more blue than yellow. And then I'm gonna do some white. As usual, you need a nice thick background brush. Depending on the size of your canvas will kind of help you pick the size of the brush that you need. And you'll need something to put your paint on, something to wash your brushes in, and something to dry your brushes off on. What else? I think that's it for now. We are going to need some skinnier brushes. I say brushes because I could use 3 or 4 brushes on this. I don't know that I will, but I could. So if you got that brush set when you first started doing this, or whenever you bought your supplies and you've got a skinny brush that you haven't used yet, maybe it'll be super helpful when we do our ropes or things like that. Okay, so big background brush. I'm going to make myself a good amount of this background teal color. Now, you're going to want like a middle tone. And you might say, well, Illy, middle of what? Well, that's really up to you. I say middle tone because we want to be able to deepen it up, and we also want to be able to have highlights that pop. So that's why you want like a middle tone. Not too light, not too dark, just right. Goldilocks kind of tone. All right. So I'm just going to paint the background. Oh, I did a pretty good job of matching that. Might be a little light, but that's okay. So we're just going to paint the whole background. Now, I would actually recommend not doing what I just did and starting in the middle. I would recommend starting at one side, like top or bottom. And that is because that'll give that side some time to dry while you do the other side. And this way, when we go in to do our like whimsical clouds and things like that, it'll be just a little bit more dry. So we actually don't want it to be perfectly dry. I'll go into that. And we want this background color to be like fairly flat, but if there is any variation in it, that's fine. Because again, if this is not like a photograph, like a photorealistic painting. Y'all are real quiet in the chat. Nobody's saying anything. That's fine. You can focus on painting. I'll just be here talking to myself. It's all good. What do I want to talk to myself about? Let's see. I mentioned it last week, but I am going to take next weekend off because it's Gish. And I know not everybody is in the Gishy mood and not everybody is participating, but I am. And also, like, it's fine. Take a break. Also, I feel like I've been seeing a lot of you guys going and doing your own thing, like making art outside of this, which is the entire purpose of why I'm doing this, is to like help you feel empowered to do that and realize that you can create and you don't need to like watch me do something in order to create it. So I'm super stoked about that. And if you're not gishing and you're like wanting to do something creative, if you are gishing, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to be creative. But yeah, do something fun for you. Maybe that's looking at a picture of something that you want to paint on Pinterest, or maybe it's just like taking out your paint supplies and doing something entirely off the top of your head, like abstract. Anyway, that's my point, is you don't have to only be creative once a week when you're here. Although I appreciate you and I appreciate your creativity and the fact that you take the time to watch this, and that's amazing. So thank you. Oops. I was actually watching some TikToks, which I know TikTok is like really not a good app to have on your phone security wise, and I keep meaning to get rid of it, but I just enjoy it so much. But anyway, I was watching some TikToks of artists, and apparently, I don't know if it's also this on YouTube, because usually I watch this on YouTube, but apparently there's such a thing as like art ASMR now. So I'm sitting here and I'm painting and I'm like, oh, I don't like the silence, like I want to talk. But maybe you guys just enjoy the brushstrokes. Probably not the banging of the canvas against my wall, though. That's probably less enjoyable. We used Blick in my high school. Gallon size. Yes. I had some of those pumps. And actually, I tried to use the pump in this thing, and it didn't fit. So I don't know. I guess all different jugs have different size mouths, and you need different pumps. But yes. Blick is, like I said, probably not the highest of quality, or at least the economy one that I get is probably not the highest quality, but it is very pigmented, and I think it blends really well. So yeah, that's what I use mostly. I got a little dark. Hi, Amy. I had some trouble setting to that. Oh, bummer. All right, so I kind of listened to my advice and I did the top first. Now I'm working on finishing up the bottom. Yeah. Last year was sorry, I'm talking and I'm assuming you guys are reading the comments, and you are probably not because you're probably painting. So Amy said that she saw some posts that I was in about San Diego Comic-Con last year. And yes, Comic-Con last year was amazing. It was my first time and quite possibly my only time ever going. And it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I went, except I got I guess in retrospect with Corona now, it's not, or with COVID, not as big of a deal, but I got the worst con crud ever after Comic-Con. And I never, I just knocked on my table in case you wanted to know. I never got con crud after a Supernatural convention. I take lots of vitamins and generally, especially when I was a vendor, kind of stayed away from the biggest of the crowds, so I never really got sick. But after Comic-Con, whew, boy. And I was a crazy person at that time. And I went straight from Comic-Con to, I went from, was it all together? I'm trying to remember. I think I went from the Los Angeles or the Burbank Lucifer convention to Comic-Con, and then went to the last half of the PB&J tour. So I was I wasn't home for a very long time, and I was so sick, and it was not fun. I mean, it was fun, but my cold was not fun. But anyway, Comic-Con. Yeah, I didn't realize, I haven't been paying attention properly. I didn't realize there's doing this whole Comic-Con at home thing. I thought they were just going to be doing posting of old stuff, like throwbacks and things like that, but there's actual panels happening, and I didn't, virtual, obviously. I didn't realize. So I'll have to look into that because that might be a fun thing to watch. Okay, so once you have painted your whole background this middle shade of turquoise or whatever you've chosen, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start in on these cloud-like things, this cloud-like border. Now I know we've painted some clouds before, and I said that I personally prefer to do clouds with my fingers, as a finger painting thing. These clouds, not so much. These clouds I want to be a little bit more, I don't want to say structured because they're not really structured, but have a little bit more edge to them. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to wash my brush because we're still going to be working with everything we've got here. I'm going to mix a darker shade of what I've been using. So I just took some more blue and a little bit more yellow into, so this puddle was where I was mixing that teal, and then I just made a darker teal puddle on top. So it still kind of incorporates this color, especially because it's already on my brush. And I think I'm going more blue than green. I hope that's what it translates as, because I kind of want it to be a little more blue. And we're just going to, I'll show you. You're just gonna like add some like wavy lines, and you can pull them all the way across the bottom. I went back up to the top because remember I said I wanted that to dry just a little bit. So you can go all the way here, and then I'm going to skip some space and do more. And we're going to be blending these, so you don't have to be like super duper attached to the shapes that you're creating, but just the general idea. So now we've got our shapes in there. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to kind of grab some of that background color that I have. So you see there's background color, then there's the dark, and then there's the background color. I'm just working with it all mushy together. So then I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of soften these. I'm going to blend them out. This is also one of those times where you may find yourself dipping your brush into some water. And I'm going right up to the line of the first one that I did. So I'm like going right up to it. I may end up going back and getting more dark color because now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's not doing it for me. We can add more dark. We just want layers of like dark fading to light in layers. So I'm going to add some more dark here, and then I'll grab some light and kind of blend. And we just want it to be like smushy and kind of wavy and kind of loosey-goosey. I know I just said that we wanted it more structured, but I think you know what I mean. If you don't, please tell me because I'm probably not explaining this how I imagine it in my head. So pretty much we want this dark ridge, okay? So we want these clouds to have a dark ridge. And then we want them to blend down into more of like the background color before the next dark ridge starts. And it's gonna look a little weird until we add our highlights. Now you can also, so I did like one, like the corners are kind of one layer, and then I did the second layer and the third. It doesn't have to be stripes like that. You can also take some of your dark shade. Whoa, that's way too much yellow. And you can pull it where they kind of cross. So you have like this interwoven layering happening. So you can have some light and dark kind of mingling. And it's totally a layer game, guys. And I like to do it with all of the darks first because that's gonna kind of help you dictate where you put your highlights. Maybe you end up using a highlight to cover up a weird, awkward blending spot. So what I'm doing here, let me move this in a little bit. Okay, so see, I like took a little bit and I kind of cut it in right there of my dark color. And I did the same thing here. So there's like this woven vibe happening. And now I'll show you. So you're gonna want a skinnier brush. It doesn't have to be super skinny, just like a round brush. And the reason we're doing this, and the reason I'm doing this all like on the top before I go to the bottom is because I want this to still be a little bit wet for this. So I'm going to take my skinny round brush and I'm going to grab some white and I'm going to kind of outline. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but it's picking up some of that dark color, some of that turquoise. And then maybe this one comes across like that. Yes. And like this is even still like really rigid. It like really specific stripes. It doesn't have to be like that. You can take your highlight color and really let it blend. Really pull it back across your darker turquoise to soften that. So it doesn't have to be that strict stripy highlight. And it also doesn't have to be like hyper specific. You can just kind of let it go like that. It's kind of fun. It's very different from that one, but I'm okay with it. And anytime you do one that you don't love, you just grab some more of that color. Maybe I'm like, oh, okay, this didn't really do it for me. I want to kind of soften that up. And that's what I love about backgrounds like these. And like right here, I really like that, but it does feel really kind of pointy and specific. And I really want this to be like soft and ethereal. So I'm just going to soften. That's kind of cool. I like that. All right. So you could do as much or as little of this as you'd like. Whatever gives you the vibes you're going for. Maybe I want to go the other direction. Yeah, that's cool. Now I'm going to, because I'm working like horizontally, not hard. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to flip my canvas upside down. You don't have to do this. But I find like, especially if I did this and I liked how it turned out, I'm going to want to do the same thing. So I'm going to want to paint in the same direction. So that's why I flopped this over. So I'm going to go back to my big brush. I may need more blue. How are we doing? Is this like making sense? Am I going too fast? Are you really confused? Or are you just having fun playing with paint? I hope you just have fun playing paint. I actually like how this came out more than I like the original. So sometimes that happens. I got blue paint all over me. All right. So I'm gonna make my darker shade again. I'm just gonna, and we don't, when I say we, like it's a royal we, you don't want to try to copy this. You don't want the same thing. Because that would be weird and oddly symmetrical. So now that you know the idea, just kind of throw some dark shades in there. And you'll know that you're gonna be blending some lighter stuff back in. Now, I should also, probably should mention this. I mean, I think that you would be able to see the original and know that we're gonna put something in the middle. So leave room for a hot air balloon. If you didn't, then you could just have, that's also why I didn't start by drawing a hot air balloon, because I don't want this fun part of the painting to dictate or to be dictated by your hot air balloon. I'd rather you have a spot right here carved out by whatever fun stuff you have going on here. And then that's your space to do a hot air balloon of whatever size and shape you want. If I had you draw that first and then you have to paint around it, that's constricting for no reason. So again, and that's just a me opinion, not like a rule or anything. Oh, that's very green. I'm gonna need more blue. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna go back in and get some of my lighter shade. And my hope is that once you've done one side, the second side will be even more fun because you're like, oh, okay. I understand how these colors play together now. I understand the way I want my brush to move now. Also, I'm generally of the opinion, and this gets me in trouble sometimes because I don't have patience to do like bigger, longer works. But I am generally of the opinion that the faster you paint, the less less you like overthink it, and the more you can kind of like enjoy the final product. I know some people who work for months and months on the same piece, and like that's awesome. I wish I had that, but I don't. So. All right, cool. Now I'm going to get my white and do my highlighting. Something I realized that I maybe didn't explain fully, and it doesn't mean that if you didn't do this that it's wrong. It's just a thing that I've done on mine, is I like the highlight to be like on the darkest. Like I like the edge of the dark shade to be highlighted. I don't know that it actually matters, but that's just how I've done it. So I like to pull a highlight across the dark. Remember, we're not trying to make them, we want them to be the same style, obviously, but we don't need these, the top and the bottom, to match. Okay, yeah, I dig that. That's cool. All right, so now that we've gotten all that fun stuff done, I'm not coordinating, guys. There is a little bit of splatter paint happening here, and then we're gonna go in and do like big stars and stuff at the end. But I do want to do a little bit of splatter paint before we do our hot air balloon, because stars wouldn't be in front of the hot air balloon. So if it's been a while or you missed any of our splatter painting, I will go over that. Obviously, you don't have to do this because it does tend to get messy, but that's mostly what's fun. So you're gonna want to take your big brush and make sure that it's dry, or clean rather, and then I'm gonna grab some water. And it's fine that your water probably won't be as green as mine, but as you guys know, I never wash my water. wash my water. I never dump my water and give myself clean water when I'm supposed to. So it's fine if there's a tint to the watercolor, it'll still work. So you're going to take that little puddle of water and you're going to mix some white paint in until it's like this consistency where it's kind of drippy if I tilt it, but it's not like dripping off my brush. So once you've got that consistency, I would say it's like pudding before it sets. So once you've got that consistency, you're just going to hold it perpendicular to your canvas and you're going to flick like this. And you'll get stars of all different, I have paint on my glasses. You'll get stars of all different sizes and shapes. And I'm just going all over. I'm going on the clouds. I'm going on the background. Like, it doesn't matter. We just want a little bit of kind of like glitter, but paint. I have to get this. Actually, so if you do wear glasses, or if you get paint on anything that's glass, really, computer, phone, things like that, it is generally a better idea to wait for it to dry and then scrape it off. Don't hold me to that because glasses, like you might be pulling off the coatings that you might have on your glasses. But if you do it while it's still, okay, that one came off. Sometimes if you're trying to get paint off of your glasses while it's still wet, you're just going to smear it and make a gigantic mess. My sister and I both cackled when you said splatter paint. Yes, it's a lot of fun. Okay, so we splattered. We got some star action going. Again, you can do as much of that or as little of that as you'd like. Now, we're going to draw our hot air balloon. If you don't have a drawing supply, you can do this with just a very little bit of white paint on a skinny brush. That's fine. I'm going to use chalk. If you have a pencil, that's cool too. You will want this to be dry if you are using chalk or pencil. If you're using paint, then it doesn't matter. But I did not get myself chalk, so please hold. Chalk. Okay. So now to draw a hot air balloon, you may not have, you have a visual reference right there, but you may not have a visual reference in your head for the shapes of a hot air balloon. It's kind of like a light bulb. Now in real life, the proportions are like huge bulb to really small thing here. I didn't do it to that extent. But if you would like to look up a picture of a hot air balloon and have it be a little bit more anatomically and proportionately correct, that's absolutely fine. But so for me, this is not fully dry, but it's dry enough for me. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a circle. Pretty darn good circle. Now, things you have to remember, which I maybe did not. I need room here. I need room for the, I don't know names of things, but there's a part of the hot air balloon that comes down that has the fire in it. You need room for that, and then you also need room for a little basket, and I didn't really leave room. Now, I say that, and then I looked at this, and I realized, I don't know why I went through all this effort to make sure that the ropes were, not touching or not going beyond into the clouds, because why couldn't they? So why can't your hot air balloon extend over your clouds? There's no rules. There's no reason. But I digress. So you're going to take your circle, and then when you have that circle, and it could be an oval, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, you're going to go from the middle here and kind of pull it in and down. So we're going to pull it in and down. And then if you're using chalk or something that is easy to wipe away, if you just take a little bit of a damp cloth, well, this only works for chalk. This doesn't work for a pencil. Why can't I get to the water? There we go. See how disgusting my water is? I did a big green painting. Okay, so you could just wipe away the excess Obviously, if you're working with pencil, you'll want to actually erase it. If you're working with paint, you can't. You could just kind of go over it with your background color a little bit. So that's my general shape. And now, where did my chalk go? For the little, I don't know if you can see this because of the glare. Is that better? For the basket, we're going to draw a cube. I think it's going to be easier if I show you big. So you're still going to do this with your chalk or your pencil or whatever, but I'm just going to do it with some dark paint so I can show you. So you've got your hot air balloon shape, and it's little chute guys right here. This is where the little fire thing is that makes it float. I don't know how it works. It's magic and terrifying, and I will never get on a hot air balloon ever in my life. But you've got that. So now we're going to do a cube. So, and now this is obviously much bigger. Well, maybe not much, but I'm hoping it's easier for you to see. So we're going to follow this line down, skip a little space, and draw the front of the cube. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pull a line back and then do another one of these. We're making like a parallelogram. I know most people, when you think about drawing a cube, you do a square and then you add to it. But this makes more sense in my head. I don't know why. So we did the front line, we did the side on an angle, back line, side on an angle. But see how it's still kind of underneath? Anyway, so now we're going to make it look like a basket. So we're going to pull this down. We're going to pull from this corner down a little bit further, because this corner is kind of like what's the most in the front. So this is what's facing us, this corner right here. And then a back one, a little bit shorter, kind of like that way. Are you seeing it a little bit now? Like this is the part where the people stand, right in there. So then we're just going to complete it. Now, I want this angle to be pretty similar to the bottom. So you're going to follow the same, and then you're going to follow the same. Kind of messed that up, but that's okay. So that's our little basket. And we do this because you don't have to do this with your chalk or your pencil, but if you want to, you can. It's attached to the hot air balloon with strings. So we want to be able to have a string go down there and down there. That was a thick string. And right here, and then the back one. So it's connected that way. You don't have to worry about drawing that unless you want to, but that's the kind of idea. So I'm going to just do that real fast again. Okay, cool. Now, I would also recommend, if you want to do the stripies like I did, I'm going to just like sketch those in because that can be kind of hard to like visualize when you're trying to separate your paint colors. So I'm just going to go in the middle. I'm going to do like a football or an eye shape right down the middle. And this is really like however many you can fit. They will be bigger toward the front. Your stripes are going to be like wider toward the front. And then as they go further back, they're going to get skinnier. So I'm going to do, and they taper. So they're going to be really skinny at the top and bottom, and then wider in the middle, like a beach ball. And I've decided that this bottom portion is going to just be a solid color. So that's it. I don't recommend you drawing your ropes thing. Now, if anybody wants to know, these ropes are like the thing that ties the hot air balloon down. I don't think you need to draw those. I think it's more fun if you just kind of wing that. But okay, let's paint. So I chose to do mine a like minty green that kind of played off this teal color, and then like a salmon-y orange. So I'm gonna do the minty green first. Do I want to do the minty green first? Yeah, let's do the minty green first. And you can use whatever brush makes sense for the size. So for minty green, I think like equal parts blue and yellow, or more yellow than blue, to make like a warmer green so that it does kind of stand out from your background, and you're going to want it to be lighter. So you're going to want it to stand out from the background by being warmer and lighter. Again, if you're trying to go for this. So just going to, this probably was not the right brush to use, my big background brush, but that's okay. Then I'm going to kind of even make the middle a little brighter. So I'm going back into my white to grab some white to make that middle like really pop. I put less stripes in this one. So I'm going to try and give myself a little room to put more stripes. I did not taper that one very well. It's okay. In theory, they should also get darker as they go back, but it can be super subtle. So I just added like a little more blue to these back ones. And you can also do it by just going back in and adding more white to your front ones to lighten up the front one. And it's good because if you screw up like I did, like if you see, I don't know if you could see from there because the colors are very similar, but I didn't really taper here. So they got really fat at the bottom. They're like the same width all the way through, which isn't what we're going for, but it's fine because when I do my salmon-y color, I can cover that up. So I'm going to switch to a smaller brush so that I can do that taper and I can be a little bit more specific. Now, salmon-y orange is going to be, not that, it's going to be red and yellow and white. And really, you're just going to mix it until you get a color you like. Ooh, that's pretty. Well, it's not the color I was going for, but it's pretty. This is a very intense orangey color that I just mixed. Okay, so now I'm going to want to really kind of refine this shape and make sure that I'm tapering it to be really skinny up at the top and down at the bottom, and then wider as I go through. So. This color is intense, man. I gotta get some more white in there. And it's okay if you do this and then you're like, oh crud, I just painted over part of my middle part that still should be green. You can go back over it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so now I'm going to create another stripe here that I didn't really draw in, but I felt was necessary. So this one, because it's further back, is going to be really skinny. So it's almost like it's an outline. Okay. Now I also want this like weird bottom thingy part where the flames go. I want that to be this color, but I'm gonna lighten it up a little. So I'm just gonna put also, if you didn't watch last week's, I showed this as like a, hey, I actually already finished what we're going to be painting. We'll take a look, see if you like it. And I blamed it all on my friend Becky because she sent me a picture of a hot air balloon that was this color. It wasn't like floating through space, but it was this color. And I was like, oh, yes, please. So if you like this, you can thank Becky. And if you didn't like this, you can also thank Becky. All right, cool. Actually, I just realized I missed an entire spot here. What am I doing? Okay. So now you can go in if you need to and clean up any areas. You can go back into your like minty green color if you feel like you need to. And you can kind of clean up any areas that you feel need it. Like you very rarely, I say you, but I mean me. I very rarely get exactly what I'm trying to do on the first shot. So all of these little like going back in and editing things that I show you, it's not because I want to show you what to do when you mess up. Like I like to say, it's not messing up. It's just like sometimes you do something and you think it's going to look a certain way and it doesn't. And then you need to like adjust. That's all. I'm also going to grab some lighter paint on my brush and just kind of like kiss the top here. That might have been too much. I'm just going to soften that. I have like all of the colors on my brush right now, which by the way, orange and green, if you mix them together, it will turn really gray and muddy. So sometimes that's fine. But sometimes it's not what you're going for. So yeah, I just kind of kissed the top with a little bit lighter color because I didn't really know what I wanted to do there or how the colors necessarily should meet. And I figured a little highlight never hurt. And you can pull the highlight down into each of your little guys right there. Cool. Also, I'm going to take a little bit of my green and kind of just add it into the front of this for funsies. It's just like just tiny finishing touches. All right, basket time. I feel like in the supply list that I posted, I forgot to put that you need black paint. But I made my basket gray, so you do need black paint. If you want to make your basket a different color, you absolutely can. But I kind of forgot about the basket. So I'm just gonna get myself some black. And actually, I'm gonna grab a smaller brush. Yeah, this guy should be good. I'm gonna start with just black. So I've got a skinny brush here. You're gonna need to use whatever brush you have that works with the size you've got going on. And I'm just gonna fill in the inside of the basket because that would be the darkest spot. And then I'm gonna grab some white and make like a middle gray, like a medium gray. And I'm gonna do the outside of the basket. Now again, this painting does not have a light source. So we're gonna have to decide where would it be lighter. And I think this side right here facing us, it makes sense for it to be lighter. There's not really a reason, but that's just how my brain works. So I'm actually gonna make this side just a little bit lighter. And then go back to the middle gray to make this back side. Now, as you're filling this in, you might kind of lose that shape, but we're gonna go back in and get it back. So darkest, middle, a little bit lighter. And now I'm not going to wash my brush. I'm just gonna dip it in the white. And I'm gonna kind of go along the shape that we originally drew. So I'm just gonna kind of like kiss the edges of this basket with this white, which is gonna turn gray because I've got black on my brush, I've got black on my canvas, it's fine. And I'm gonna put our lines back in. And I'm going to attempt, this is probably as close as I can get it for you to see this, but I'm gonna attempt to put in a little bit of texture to make it look like woven or like a basket weave. So I'm just going to kind of pull some stripes. Kind of went outside the lines here, but that's okay. So I have like this light gray, you can grab some more white. And I'm just gonna like stripe it. And then if you feel like you need to grab some dark again, you can. And you can stripe it going in the other direction. The key here is to not do it too many times because the more you go over and over it, the more it'll just blend into one color. We just want a little basket weave texture happening. And remember, we do want to keep this side lighter than that one. So I'm going to go back into my darker and just kind of darken this up. But still with that, trying to get a little bit of that texture, just a little bit. It's kind of like a crosshatch vibe. But really subtle. We just want a little texture in there. That's all. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna show you. Like it's really rough. It's just a little bit of texture. I'm gonna wash my skinny brush off, and now it is detail time. So details are gonna be, all of my white is really dirty, so I'm gonna give myself just a little bit more white. We got all of the like rope structure to do, and then our stars, our bigger stars, our twinkly stars. So probably didn't need all that white, but that's okay. So now it's been a while since I like explained how to like load paint onto a brush. So if you've got a skinny round brush and you want to keep it nice and skinny, you're just gonna roll the brush in the white paint. I'm choosing white. If you have a different idea of what you'd like your ropes to be, that's fine, but I think the white is good. I considered making them black, but I feel like black would stand out in like a weird way, whereas white is just like, who knows what color they are, it's just reflecting light. So I've got a skinny brush, and I'm just going to, this front one is kind of important because it's the main one. So I'm just gonna pull a skinny line up from the corner of my basket to my hot air balloon. Same here. If the way that you've drawn your basket or your hot air balloon means that you have to kind of angle it and it doesn't go straight up, that's fine. If it's easier for you to go down from the hot air balloon instead of up from the basket, whatever makes sense to your brain. There's a teeny tiny one that's going to go in the back here because we don't want to pull it down into the basket. It's just holding on to the edge there, the corner there. And then I'm going to do this corner. And if you want, you can kind of do a little outline action there. Anywhere that you want to add like a highlight, you can really add it if you want. There's no rules here. Right? I mean, I would hope that hot air balloons don't actually like float into space. So we're just making rules up as we go. Now, for the wiggly waggly ropes that were holding the hot air balloon down, this is where you have fun. They can just be like wafting in the wind. They can have little curly cues. You can skip them entirely if they're giving you anxiety and you're like, nope, not for me. They're not necessary. Aw, thanks, Erin. So I also don't know for sure where they originate, like in real life, but I decided that they would be tied to the actual balloon and not this guy, because I feel like, you know, this guy could get stuck on something and ripped off, and you'd want the strings to actually hold the balloon. But I don't know if that's accurate. But that's where mine are going to start. So, and I said earlier, I tried really hard to keep them in this background, but that's unnecessary. If it goes over your clouds, it goes over your clouds. The lighter you press, the thinner the line. So no matter what shape or size brush, if you press really lightly, you're going to get a really delicate line, which I think is probably what we're going to be going for most here. And yeah, so just kind of play with it. And if your paint runs out halfway through and you have this like gap, whatever, embrace it. If you really want to go back in, you can try, but it's never, see, like if you can see right here, kind of, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Maybe the rope got a kink in it. No big deal. All right. I dig it. I don't know why I put a loop-de-loop in all of them. They really don't all need loop-de-loops. Now, stars. You're going to take your brush and flip it upside down, no matter what brush you have. The bigger the brush, the bigger the stars. But you're just going to dunk your paintbrush's butt. So we're using Spencer's butt here in white paint. And we're just going to put some bigger stars happening. I put them even on the cloudy portion because I feel like it's not really clouds. I feel like it's maybe like more like aurora borealis vibes. I don't know. But you are creating this universe, so you get to decide where your stars go, and if that doesn't make sense to you, then you skip it. And you also get to choose how many stars, how big they are, where they are, etc. So we're just going to kind of add some stars where we feel like it. And then my favorite stars are the like glimmery ones. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to scrape a lot of the paint off of it. So, wipe your brush's butt. Do yourself that favor so you don't paint on your face. So I'm going to I'm still working with white, and I'm going to take my skinny brush and I'm going to scrape a lot of the paint off of it because I don't want it to be too much paint. And that scraping action is also going to really help to keep that point intact. And I'm just going to decide where I want, and you might even like take one of the stars that you just did with the butt of your brush and maybe you don't like it so much and you want to turn it into a different kind of star. That's an option too. So like I can take this and screw it up. That's okay. It's just a big star. Press really lightly, guys. So these glowy stars are asterisks, but usually like the top and bottom line are the longest. So I personally think that this is a little too thick for my taste, but I'm just going to have to press lighter. Now let's say, I know we're going over an hour already, so we're honestly almost done. If you want to do your twinkly stars and sign off, that's totally cool. But let's just say you do like me and you do a star you don't like. Guess what? It's fine. So I'm going to go back to my little pile where I had some of my background color. I'm going to try to recreate it. Now, this gets dangerous because it's really hard to match a mixed color, but let's see what I can do. And I recommend kind of watering it down a little bit. So I'm going to grab some water and I'm going to paint this. Now, this is risky because you stand to have this spot stand out significantly. But that's why I watered it down, and I'm going to go beyond where I made the error. So I'm painting beyond that little spot, and I'm going to just kind of drag the color around. Now, I'm not saying you should always paint over when you make a mistake, but I'm just showing you that there is a way to do some patchwork, especially when it's a painting that has splatter paint, because then you can go back, get you some more splatter paint, and just go right in that area, and that will really camouflage it as well. So just wanted to show you that you can, like, as much as I say, oh, if you make a mistake, just kind of make it work and move on, you can do some patchwork sometimes. And I'm also going to still put my star there to further camouflage. So that's what I was saying, is that these stars are just asterisks with longer top and bottom lines. So that right there is what I was going for. And that's my patch job. Not too bad. And yeah, you could do as many of those as you want to, but I just did 2. But we're done. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope it was fun. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, gosh, that green is so much darker than that. Whatever. Don't forget to sign your artwork, and don't forget to post it on Twitter. I want to see all of these. You can use the hashtag quarantine creatively, or you can just tag me if you want to see them. I think I forgot to mention that last week. So yeah, post them. And we're not painting next week, but that'll give me time to come up with something new and fun for the week after. So I'll see you in 2 weeks or on Twitter. Bye.